You need to drop the mandates and you must remove the emergency declaration. The pandemic is over.
Over the past few weeks, an assorted coalition of movements formed and traveled across the United States with the goal of opposing mandates in the style of similar activism that had taken place in Canada. Truckers and others, joining the People's Convoy group in particular, began gathering on February 24th at Adelanto Stadium in California.
That's what you're going to as I fight.
What's your favorite? Well, I made the bolognese, so I'm partial.
Well, we are currently in Barstow, California. We are about to launch the People's Convoy. We're leaving California tomorrow morning, and we are driving east all the way back to DC. For the last 2 years, we've lived under tyranny. I got tired of seeing churches and small businesses shut down, but the government said it was okay to leave open strip clubs and abortion clinics and liquor stores and big box retailers. And I thought, what a terrible thing to do. And these politicians, they're weak, they're self-serving, they don't care about the American people. And so it's time for people like us to step up and fight back.
By the following morning, hundreds had gathered, preparing to convoy toward Washington, D.C.
Freedom brought me here. That's pretty much it.
A lot of stuff starts in California. All of our bad political policies that we have in D.C., the bad ones all start in California. So how appropriate that saving the country starts here in California, too.
Joe, listen, Joe, we're coming to get you, Joe.
Remember that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he will do everything he can to stop, to hinder the rightful protest and the rightful assembly that all of you are embarking across this next few weeks. So be safe. We love you. Thank you to the People's Convoy for allowing Adelanto to be the city where this gay protest gets started. And we love you guys, and stay blessed.
As the truckers began their journey toward the nation's capital, the National Guard was activated and placed on standby based on the theory that a separate truckers' convoy could target the State of the Union on March 1st. Police re-erected a fence around the Capitol. Kyle Sefcik, a former MMA fighter, held a permit for an event supporting the truckers' convoy, which he originally listed as expecting 3,000 people. He downgraded that to 500 people, and finally, on the afternoon of the State of the Union, approximately a dozen activists and a few dozen journalists showed up.
I had people telling me, hey, Kyle, I don't think I'm going to show up today. I'm not going to risk doing this because they're afraid of their government. Straight up, they are afraid of their government and what they might do. Hey, Kyle, listen, man, when we get in the city, how's it going to be? Like, I don't know. I heard there's authority. I heard the National Guard's there. What do you know? They're scaring you away once again, making you not do your God-given right. Make you not do what needs to be done to get things done. Wake up. Just saying.
The event was satirized for its low attendance, even drawing the attention of Stephen Colbert.
And most of them just wanted to see truckers so they could do this. Take a look at how empty this rally was. You could have driven a truck through the place if any had shown up.
Biden arrived at the Capitol for the State of the Union uninterrupted and unprotested on the evening of March 1st. By then, the much larger People's Convoy had only made it to Monrovia, Indiana, just outside Indianapolis, where it had grown to hundreds of vehicles still trekking eastbound.
Right. I'm here to carry the voices of all the parents and children that I met in Adelanto, California. I'm here to carry their voices to California. Everybody's fed up with these unnecessary, overreaching mandates. Vaccine mandates, mask mandates, all them mandates. People are tired, and I'm seeing it every day, everywhere we stop, everybody we talk to. Everybody's tired, and I'm here trying to carry their voices to Washington.
What's the goal here of the convoy?
The goal of the convoy is to end the mandates permanently, because right now, last I checked, the Biden administration extended their national emergency. And then California, Gavin Newsom wiped out the state emergency for fire, for oil, but not COVID. And so they're lifting mask mandates, I know in California and other states, but it almost seems temporary. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna lift it now, but when hospital cases go up because people just get sick, it just happens, they're gonna use that and say, okay, put a mask back on. Because hospitals are going up and people get sick all the time.
Well, I think what they're hoping to accomplish is get rid of some of this government overreach that we got going on right now. Some mandates and whatnot. It's just, it's gone too far already. We need to try and put a hold on it somewhere.
Or what would you like to accomplish by going to DC? What do you think is a realistic goal?
Realistic goal, actually, all COVID-related mandates need to stop. That's a realistic goal. A stretch goal beyond that is tribunals for essentially what are war crimes or profiteering charges for drug companies, federal government employees such as Anthony Fauci. They need to be rooted out, not just slapped on the wrist or not just ignored. We're not anti-vaxxers, okay? We're far from it. So for anybody to try to twist it and say that we are something that we're not is wrong. What we do believe in is your freedoms, your God-given rights and your constitutional rights. You should have a choice, period. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a professor. I can't tell you if the vaccine's good or bad. That ain't my place to tell you whether it's good or bad. But what I can tell you is that you deserve the choice.
The community met to rally and hear from speakers on a nightly basis.
It is time, after 23 months, that we reopen this economy, get back to work, jumpstart our businesses, and start living and loving and doing what we do best, which is being Americans in a free society. Even the dog agrees. And what a pretty little dog with the bow on the head.
You got an old Jeep, you got a pickup with a travel trailer out there, and happens to also be a mobile kitchen because he's taking care of some of us. You see an RV over there, and then you see a bunch of pickup trucks and cars out of there. See, this ain't about the truckers. This is about the people of the United States. This is a people's convoy. And I encourage every single American, I don't care if you're from the left side of the aisle, the right side of the aisle, I don't care if you're straight, gay, bi, male, female, or whatever you may be. At the end of the day, you are all Americans.
USA! USA!
We thank you, we praise you for everything you have done in the lives and hearts you have changed on this journey. Jesus Christ.
By March 3rd, the convoy made it to Cambridge, Ohio.
What are you guys hoping to change here?
I'm not getting no jab, one. Neither are my kids, my grandkids, or anybody else. And I feel like that's our decision to make between us and our doctors.
By March 4th, the group arrived at Hagerstown, Maryland, where they assembled something of an outpost at Speedway Stadium.
This is not, officially it's to stop the control of the Emergencies Act. That's just to say, but at the end of the day, it's protesting the whole damn administration that's in there, every damn thing they do. That's what this is about.
What can you tell me interesting about Hagerstown?
What's interesting about Hagerstown, we've got a bunch of patriots lined up here to save the world again. That's what we need. We need to get rid of everybody in that freaking White House. They all need a short piece of rope and a tall tree.
Washington, D.C. is about an hour drive away.
So, we're here to support America, fight for our freedom, get the mandates, get the government out of our business. Let's go, Brandon. It actually goes around like that with the exhaust when I oil it up to it. It's been about like 500 miles since I've oiled it, so it's a little stiff right now.
It's like a Gatling gun almost.
Nothing says get the F back like a minigun's pulling up. Is this a crusade? Yeah, I believe it's a people's crusade. It can be peaceful, but it's a crusade in the fact that people have to fight the evil in the world, man. And the evil is you're heading down to the evil. in the world, and people have to band together and fight on the side of the Lord. You know, God wills it, man.
We want our freedoms. Everyone across the board is willing to stand for it. And if they don't give it to us, we're going to take them back anyway. That could look like a whole different thing, whether shutting down that highway or if they push us back, we'll push forward.
God bless America, baby. Let's go.
By this time, a great deal of apprehension had built in their movement about the prospect of entering Washington, D.C., which they were expected to do around the 5th.
The rally is here. This is where the rally is, 7 p.m. tonight. We are not leaving these grounds today. There is no convoy going anywhere today from here. We're staying here overnight. Details will come further about our next movement.
That day, a small coalition of progressive activists gathered in D.C. to hold what they called a rally against white nationalism, opposing the truckers.
This began as a rally against the truckers' convoy against white nationalism that is infecting our country. But after the unprecedented invasion of Ukraine, it's morphed into something bigger. The reality is that it's all connected. The election of the former president emboldened white nationalists, neo-Nazis, racists, misogynists, climate deniers, QAnon conspiracists, and fascists to step out of the shadows. He not only provided support, but he gave them a platform to spew their hate.
The group disputed that the People's Convoy movement consists of what socialists would consider workers, instead condemning them as small business owners and capitalists.
I'm up here today in solidarity with those who actively oppose systems of oppression, whether it be white supremacy, capitalism, patriarchy, colonialism, imperialism, and militarism.
Do not be fooled. These people are small business owners. They are capitalists. So does anyone have any idea what mandates they're talking about? No. Any fucking idea what mandates they're talking about? No? Okay. Because it was never about mandates. The entire thing is a bullshit grifting front for fascism, white nationalism, and authoritarianism. Funneling money from the same people who orchestrated J6, the organizers are Proud Boys, Boogaloo, Oath Keepers, and 3%ers. Do not allow them to control the narrative.
How dare you come out here and defile our capital? How dare you come out here and speak the name patriot? Saying the word patriot doesn't make you a patriot. You gotta come out here and have some skin in the game. And that's why I knew I would raise up. I knew, just like when I became a soldier after the riots, the LA riots, I knew just like when I decided to marry my wife in Germany, and I knew the moment that I would be a Black Lives Matter activist. When I seen fake patriots out here attacking our capital, we've got to make a stand. Whether it takes 10 months or 10 years, we must be absolutely relentless in our fight against white supremacy. Power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people.
I look out here today and I see 50, 60, 70 people who showed up for this event. How strong are we? Too strong. How strong are we? Too strong. That's right.
While that rally was meant to signal opposition to the convoy's presence in the district, they never came.
USA! 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 As we close our second night, we're in Hagerstown. I understand many of you are ready to rock and roll. This is where that standing together and some patience may be required.
Instead, the convoy's leadership described concerns over possible outcomes if they entered the city, and resolved to make a decision in the morning.
I went into D.C. in a tinted vehicle, sat in the back, never got out, didn't show my face, did a couple laps around the Beltway and down into D.C. proper to take a look at what it looked like. I'm telling you, it's creepy.
That's the word I used.
It's always creepy, you're right, but this is a different feeling. They are waiting for us to show up, and it's a trap. Now, I'm not going to tell you that we're not going to do things because we're going to do it through diplomacy first, and then we'll take the next step if things don't work. But if people leave, or they give up the fight, or they go and do
some wild cowboy stuff, we lose our upper hand. Right now, we have the upper hand. Right now, the People's Convoy.
As the sun set on Hagerstown, the makeshift community honked and celebrated their progress. Ultimately, the truckers decided that the best way to make their presence felt without incurring risks of arrest or confrontation would be to circle the Beltway. While never forming into a blockade, the truckers were able to be visible to residents of DC and neighboring communities. Some local residents of Montgomery County stood on an overpass with signs and American flags to cheer for the convoy. Not all locals were in support. Two held a sign mocking the activists with a flag reading, "Trump lost, LOL."
It's not really counter for this. We just came out here for laughs.
So what is kind of the message that you're bringing out? Trump lost, LOL.
Absolutely nothing.
We're just counter-protesting the people that have fuck Biden and Trump flags on their bed.
It's more for just the laugh.
One jogger began to tear down the convoy supporters' flags and was forcefully confronted.
Hey, come here for a sec. Hey, we'll talk to you, little faggot. What? You don't do this. Yeah, I live here. Oh, did you call it? What do you call people? Faggots because they have a problem? Get the fuck out of here. I live here. I live here too, fuckface. So do I. I'm not the one touching anyone. Look at you. Just get the fuck away. I'm not touching anyone. You just pulled a flag down, fuckface. It's not your property. It's not your property. It's not your fucking property. You touch him, I'm gonna fucking break your head open. Oh, you really? I'm the one.
We're here for your freedom. We're here for your freedom, dumbass.
Why did you touch him? We're gonna turn down the flag. Why'd you do that?
Freedom, dumbass.
I'm not loving what you're saying, but we have the right to say it.
Dumbass, and that's why you
go move. Go live somewhere else.
The convoy ultimately returned to Hagerstown, vowing to continue circling DC daily until their demands were heard. But what are those demands exactly? On March 8th, a delegation of the People's Convoy participants entered the city to sit down with members of Congress. A few dozen met with Republican Representatives Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Thomas Massie.
When I walk into a room and I'm up here with Thomas Massie and Matt Gaetz in a room full of truckers, boy, I know I'm in for a good time. So thank you so much for coming to our nation's capital, and I'm sorry that this place is failing you. I'm appalled every single day at the bills that I read, that we vote on, because none of them are actually working for the American people. Now listen, truckers coming to Washington, I think you had a lot of people terrified. They did not know what to expect. All they knew is that Justin Trudeau turned into a dictator and declared full martial law, and then, Nancy Pelosi and the rest of the gang up here was trying to figure out how are we going to handle truckers coming to Washington. But I thank you for coming, because this is where you should be able to come and make your voices heard, share your concerns, and force this town to work for you.
Our businesses are in shambles. Our homes are in shambles. You cannot sit here and let them tell us that we have to have a jab in our arm to go to work. You can't do that to us, the trucks, or the children, because then we become what? Dependent on the government, and the government puts us in a cage and they tell us when we can eat, sleep, or drink. And that's not okay.
Not on my watch. We aren't going there.
I'm following you with every eyeball I've got, and I've got both of them locked in.
Thank you. I'm with you. I totally agree.
Many of the truckers expressed concerns about powers exercised by the government over the past 2 years and wanted to know how to avoid further restrictions during any future outbreak.
With everything, obviously we all know that they're starting to shut down the mandates and all that, especially here in D.C. and so forth. I mean, after we're gone and after the midterms, there's going to be another flare-up, I would imagine. What's to keep this from ever happening again? What do you guys have in store and in mind to keep this from ever being re-implemented and us having to come back here again to make this happen?
Well, can I just let you know you're right, because what we're voting on tomorrow is going to have approximately $22.5 billion for future COVID. That's how it's termed, future COVID, and to vaccinate the world. So, of course it's not going away, because they're already asking for money that we're voting tomorrow in the $1.5 trillion omnibus bill, tomorrow $22.5 billion for future COVID. So, yeah, they're wanting you to pay. They're asking us to say yes. I promise you I'm voting no. I will not be voting yes for that. But no, you're right, it's not going away. And it's a shame, it's terrible.
These agencies, the pet snakes, have developed these exquisite authorities that we would have never guessed. And I do think that part of the legislative agenda for Republicans should be specifically in law, black letter, no room for interpretation, to constrain these elements of government so that even if they only had $1, they wouldn't have the legal authority to go and bind people to this tyranny.
CDC, pet snake. Department of Labor, pet snake. OSHA, pet snake. CMS, pet snake. Department
FDA.
of Education, FBI,
FDA.
EPA, FDA. I can't, there's not
DOJ.
enough. All right, we've gone through the whole alphabet. But listen, why I call them pet snakes? Because Republicans feed them when they're in the majority. And then when we go in the minority or the White House changes, they weaponize them. Those are the foot soldiers of oppression in this country. And then you look for somebody to blame. Your congressman will say, well, it's an administrative rule. And a lot of this stuff wasn't even an executive order. It's just they weaponize these three-letter agencies. They claim to have power they don't have. And it takes 2 or 3 years to get to the Supreme Court and strike it down, even if you have a good Supreme Court. So we need to quit funding them. Quit funding them.
One participant offered 2 specific pieces of pre-drafted legislation.
I would like to present you with 2 bills. The Vaccine Manufacturer Full Product Liability Restoration Act of 2021, written by the people for the people, because we are the people. Handwritten in legislation code as well. And then the other bill that I have that I need to present to you.
If we get that passed, they'll change the definition of vaccination again.
Okay, and then the other bill I have is the amendments to Section 230, eliminating censorship from big tech, version 2, and these have already been endorsed by several. Their names are upon them. I'd just like to present them to you at this time.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll take a look at those. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much.
While not directly related to mandates, many also expressed frustration over skyrocketing gas prices.
These people are losing it and tying on with fuel prices. In 2012, I went through this with Obama. Well, fuel prices hit $5 a gallon. I had a truck that was paid for. I was profitable. I was running flatbeds for Mercer. Fuel hit $5 a gallon, which is it's at now. And I'll bet you, without a doubt, everybody in this room would tell you we are right now on the precipice of losing our collective asses. This is unsustainable. I lost everything. Even though it was paid for, I couldn't do it. So I had to sell my truck, go to the oil fields in North Dakota, and get a job as a company driver. And it's taken me 10 years to work my way back up. And now I see this, I'm pissed. Because it's going to be $6 a gallon soon. And no matter what legislation you do or whatever, the trucks will have no other option than to shut off. Not out of spite, not out of meanness, out of necessity, because you cannot run a truck at $6 a gallon for fuel. And I believe without a doubt everybody in here would agree with that.
That's very helpful.
The truckers seemed satisfied that as long as their proposals were seriously considered, the event would be a success.
It depends on if they even look at the bills that we proposed. I think that they noticed that we're not going to sit down anymore. And hopefully us being here shows that we are just as important as they are.
So what would have to happen to make today have been to make it a success?
Even just consideration of what we proposed today. You know, there's a lot of different things in those pieces of paper that were proposed, and I think that even if a handful of them were registered and dealt with properly, we would be able to succeed.
R.C. Casper Pittman of Bikers for Trump was happy with the meeting, but felt the proposals had no hope without politicians like Speaker Nancy Pelosi out of office, which he believes can only be achieved through term limits.
These three that were in here today, yes. What we did with them, you know, we handed them some bills that need to be implemented, that need to be put before Congress, but Pelosi will never put them on the floor. We know that. One way or the other, all of the dinosaurs that have camped out in our house need to be removed. And the only way we're going to remove them is through term limits. No other way.
Yeah, it sounded like that was an issue for you that was overarching the rest of the legislature.
Yeah, that's the only thing. That is the only thing that is going to change this Congress. Look, you got people voting on whether to fire themselves or not. Well, yeah, I mean, your job. All these camera people that you can work for. If all of a sudden you had to take a vote on whether y'all were allowed to do your job, would you vote to fire yourself?
Of course not.
Same thing with Congress. They're not going to vote to fire themselves. This is something that the American people is going to have to put on there in order to change this Congress and the future Congress. Otherwise, it ain't going to happen.
The convoy continues to loop the Beltway, they say, indefinitely. Only time will tell how long the looping and the honking will continue. Ford Fisher, News to Share, with additional footage from Paul Mulholland, Jake Lee Green, and Kristan Harris for Activism Uncensored, a collaboration with TK News.